The desert night was colder than the day ever warned, and the human named Ethan had no strength left in his body as he stumbled across the barren ground. His small survey craft had crashed hours earlier, and everything he carried had burned in the fire. The planet was unfamiliar, dimly lit by 3 moons, and scattered with strange purple stones that glowed in the dark like sleeping eyes. He had walked until his legs refused to hold him any longer. When he finally collapsed on the ground, the last thing he heard was the soft hum of something large moving through the night. He tried to raise his head, but darkness swallowed him completely. When Ethan opened his eyes again, he did not understand if he was dreaming or actually alive. He felt warm air brushing his face and heard low voices speaking in a musical language he had never heard before. His vision slowly cleared, and he found himself lying on a platform made of polished crystal. Strange lights floated above him, like tiny suns trapped in glass spheres. Standing around him were figures covered in silver-blue armor. Their eyes were bright, shining like they reflected the moons themselves. But one figure stood closer than the rest, taller, calmer, and clearly holding a different kind of presence. She stepped forward, and Ethan's breath caught in his throat. She was unlike any being he had ever seen, yet there was something deeply regal about her. Her skin was a soft shade of violet, glowing slightly under the lights. Her eyes were deep and warm, shaped like they could read someone's heart without asking a question. Long, pearl-white hair fell down her back, braided with glowing threads that shimmered like liquid stars. A delicate crown made of shimmering metal rested gently on her forehead. Ethan didn't know who she was, but her presence demanded attention, like the moment before a sunrise. The tall warrior beside her bowed deeply and spoke in their language. She raised a hand to silence him, then slowly leaned down toward Ethan. "You are awake," she said gently, her voice surprisingly soft and clear, as if her language shaped itself into his with ease. Ethan stared, confused and weak. Where am I?" "You are in my palace," she replied, watching him closely. "My guards found you lying unconscious at the border of our territory. You were cold, barely breathing. If we had arrived a few minutes later, you would not have survived." Her eyes softened a little, and Ethan realized she wasn't just observing him, she was studying him with concern. "I'm alive?" Ethan whispered. "Yes," she said, "because I ordered you to be saved." She stood upright again, and the warriors around her lowered their heads with respect. Ethan realized quickly that she wasn't only someone important. She was the most important person in the room. He swallowed. "Who?" The tall alien woman placed one hand over her chest in a graceful motion. "I am Queen Seraphina of the Nitherian Dominion." A queen. Ethan's mind spun. Saved by a queen of an alien empire he knew nothing about. Seraphina studied him more closely now, her expression unreadable. "And you? What is your name?" "Human?" He forced his dry throat to work. "Ethan." She repeated it once, softly, as if testing the sound. "Ethan." A simple name. Easy to speak. She glanced at her guards, then back at him. "You are fortunate. Many beings who cross into our lands without permission do not survive the night." She paused, then added in a quieter voice. "But you were alone. Weak. And clearly harmed. There was no reason to treat you as an enemy." Ethan tried to sit up, but pain struck through his ribs. He winced and sank back down. "Do not move," Seraphina said immediately. She stepped forward and placed her hand gently above his injury. A warm blue light flowed from her palm, easing the pain a little. "You suffered internal bruising from the crash. My healers worked through the night. Rest is necessary." He stared at her in disbelief. "You can heal people just like that?" "Not heal," she said softly. "Only reduce the pain. I am no healer." Her eyes, however, told a different story. There was something powerful in her touch, something that made Ethan feel strangely safe, something he hadn't felt in a long time. The guards stepped back respectfully as Seraphina gestured towards them. "Leave us," she ordered. Every warrior bowed deeply and exited the crystal chamber, the doors closing with a gentle hum. Suddenly, silence filled the room. It was just Ethan and the alien queen. Serafina sat beside him, folding her hands in her lap. "You confuse me, human," she admitted. "I have seen humans before, but never like this. Alone, unarmed, nearly frozen. What happened to you?" "My ship crashed," Ethan said quietly. "I was on a simple survey mission. Something hit the engine. I barely escaped the fire." She tilted her head. "And your people? Will they search for you?" He hesitated. "Maybe, but I was far off the planned route. They might not find me soon." Serafina's eyes narrowed slightly, as if she understood something deeper. "So you are alone for now." Ethan looked down, feeling the weight of those words. The queen's expression softened again. "Then you will stay here until your strength returns. I will not allow harm to come to someone who is under my protection." Her tone was gentle but firm, making it clear she had already made the decision. Ethan blinked. "Under your protection?" "Yes." She said it as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. "You were found on Nitherian lands. According to our ancient customs, the one who rescues a helpless traveler is responsible for them until they recover. You belong to my care now." The way she said "belong" made Ethan's heart beat faster, though not out of fear. There was no threat in her voice, only certainty. He swallowed. "But you're a queen." Her eyes locked onto his with sudden intensity. "I do not look after everyone," she said softly. "Only the ones who fate places in my path." There was a weight in her voice Ethan could not understand. Something deep, almost ancient. When he didn't respond, Serafina gently brushed a stray lock of hair away from his forehead, studying him with curiosity and something almost protective. "You are fragile," she murmured. "Humans. I forget how easily your bodies break." She paused, then added quietly, "Yet you survived the crash. You walked alone through the desert night when many would have given up. That is not weakness." Ethan didn't know what to say, but a warmth grew in his chest at her words. A soft chime echoed through the chamber, breaking the quiet moment. A healer entered, bowed, and spoke respectfully. "My queen, the treatment is ready." Serafina stood. "Bring it here." The healer hurried away and returned with a shimmering bowl. Inside was a glowing liquid, swirling with silver threads. Serafina lifted it carefully and brought it to Ethan. "Drink this," she said. "It will help your body repair itself." Ethan hesitated. "Is it safe? For humans?" She nodded. "I would never give you something harmful. Trust." That was what he felt from her. Even though they had known each other only a short time, something about her made him believe her without question. He drank. The liquid was warm and smooth, tasting faintly like honey and mint. Almost instantly, a wave of calm washed over him. Serafina watched him closely. "Good. You will rest well after this." "Tom." She turned to leave, but paused at the doorway and looked back at him. "When my guards found you, you were lying face down in the sand," she said quietly. "But when I approached you, you opened your eyes for a moment and reached toward me. Even half-conscious, you asked, 'Please don't leave me. Please. Please don't leave me.'" Ethan flushed with embarrassment. "I don't remember saying that." Her gaze softened with something that made his chest tighten. "I remember," she said softly. "And I did not leave you then." She stepped closer. The room fell quiet again as Serafina studied him, her expression turning strangely serious. "In our culture," she said slowly, "when someone finds an injured traveler and claims responsibility for them, it forms a bond. A deep one that cannot be broken easily." Ethan felt his heart pound. "A bond?" She nodded. "Yes. That is why the guards whispered and stared when they brought you to me." Her eyes held his deeply. They know what it means when a queen chooses to save someone with her own hands. He swallowed hard. "What does it mean?" Serafina's voice dropped to a soft whisper. "It means, Ethan, that I have claimed you as my own." Before he could respond, she gently placed her hand over his and said, Rest. Tomorrow, we will talk more. His vision blurred again from the medicine. But the last thing he saw before sleep took him was the alien queen standing beside him, watching over him with a strange mix of protectiveness and interest, like she had already decided something important about him, something that would change both their lives. Ethan woke to warm sunlight, filtering through the crystal walls of the chamber. The gentle glow made the whole room shimmer, like morning light moving across water. For a moment, he forgot he was on an alien world. The bed beneath him felt too soft, the air smelled faintly sweet, and the sound of distant singing drifted through the halls like a soft breeze. Then he remembered the night before the queen, her calm voice, her promise that she had claimed him. He slowly pushed himself upright, surprised that the pain in his ribs had reduced so much. Whatever the Nitherian healers had given him worked far better than anything humans had created. A soft hum vibrated through the room, and the door opened by itself. A young Nitherian attendant stepped inside, carrying folded clothes made of shimmering fabric. "You are awake," she said with a warm smile. "The queen instructed me to bring these for you. She said you should be comfortable during the morning meal." Ethan blinked. "Morning meal? With her?" The attendant nodded. "Yes. She asked that you join her in the crystal garden as soon as you are able." His heart beat faster for reasons he couldn't fully explain. He nodded slowly and accepted the clothes. The fabric felt cool at first touch, then adjusted to his body temperature instantly. When the attendant left the room, Ethan let out a long breath. Meeting a queen still felt unreal. Meeting a queen who said strange things like, "I claimed you," felt even more unreal. But there was something calming about her, something warm and steady that he couldn't ignore. He didn't feel threatened. If anything, he felt protected. After changing into the clothes which fit perfectly, almost like they adjusted themselves, he stepped into the hallway. A pair of guards stood there, tall and silent, their silver armor reflecting the sunlight. One of them bowed slightly. "The queen awaits you." They guided him through long hallways filled with soft lights, tall windows, and floating crystals that changed color as they passed. It was beautiful. But Ethan couldn't ignore the feeling that the guards moved with unusual precision, almost like they were making sure no one came too close to him, or perhaps too close to the queen. When they reached the crystal garden, Ethan's breath caught in his throat. It was enormous, filled with glowing flowers, tall trees made of white stone, and streams of silver water. Butterflies, made of pure light, floated gently around the plants. Everything shimmered softly, like a dream come alive. And in the center of the garden stood Serafina. She wore different clothing from the night before. Instead of armor, she wore a flowing robe that changed color in the sunlight, blue, silver, and violet blending together with every movement. Her long white hair was braided again, but today it was decorated with small glowing crystals. She didn't look intimidating or distant. She looked peaceful, almost gentle. Serafina turned as Ethan approached, and her expression softened. "You found your way," she said softly. "Your guards helped," Ethan replied with a shy smile. She walked closer, and for a moment, Ethan felt as if the entire garden grew quieter in her presence. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Better. Still a bit tired, but much better than yesterday." The queen nodded. "Good. I do not allow those under my care to suffer." The way she said it made Ethan's chest warm. She wasn't speaking like a ruler, giving orders. She was speaking like someone who took personal responsibility. Serafina motioned for him to walk with her along a glowing path. "Eat first," she said. "Talk later." They settled beside a small table made of living crystal that grew from the ground like a plant. Strange fruits were arranged neatly. Some were blue, some gold, some shaped like spiraling shells. "Do not worry," Serafina said softly, noticing his hesitation. "Everything here is safe for you." He picked up a blue fruit and tasted it. It burst with a sweet flavor unlike anything he had eaten before. Serafina watched him with a curious smile. Humans always make that expression when they try Nitherian food. He laughed a little. "It's really good." Serafina nodded, pleased. I chose these fruits for you myself. Ethan froze. You chose them? Of course, she said calmly. If you are under my care, then I must make sure your needs are met. Food is the first need. He didn't know what to say. No queen he'd ever heard of would personally pick food for someone, especially a stranger. Serafina noticed his confusion. You think it's strange that I do small things for you? A little, he admitted. Where I come from, queens don't take care of people like this. Serafina looked at him with a softer expression now, almost a hint of sadness. Our customs are different. In my culture, when someone rescues another during a vulnerable moment, a bond forms between them. A responsibility. A promise. She paused, letting the meaning sink in. When I saw you lying alone in the desert, she said quietly, I felt something. A pull. As if the universe placed you in my path for a reason. I did not save you as a queen. I saved you as a person who felt that you should not die alone. Ethan felt a lump in his throat. Thank you, he whispered. Serafina's eyes softened even more. You are welcome. They walked further into the garden, and she guided him toward a high balcony overlooking the Nitherian city. Ethan's eyes widened. The city seemed to float, built on layers of shimmering plates that rose into the sky. Towers made of blue crystal arched gracefully, connected by bridges of silver light. Flying creatures carried travelers from one tower to another. It was stunning. Your world is beautiful, Ethan said. Serafina smiled gently. I am glad you think so. Many speak of its danger, its harsh deserts, its unpredictable storms. But to me, it is home. Ethan looked at her with curiosity. Have you always lived here? Yes, she said. From the day I was born, I was raised to lead this people. I never had the chance to choose a simple life. She looked out over the city. Every step I take is watched. Every word I speak is judged. Every decision I make affects millions. Her voice carried a hint of weariness that Ethan hadn't heard before. Do you ever wish things were different? He asked softly. She turned toward him, her eyes calm but honest. Sometimes. Yes. But a queen does not run from duty. Ethan looked at her with admiration. You're strong. And you, she said gently, are brave. You survived an impossible situation. Many beings would have given up in the cold night. He shrugged. I didn't have another choice. There is always a choice, Serafina said quietly. You chose to fight to stay alive. That matters. They continued walking until they reached a small pool of silver water. Serafina stepped closer and dipped her fingers into it. The water responded by glowing softly, sending ripples of light across the surface. This is the pool of echoes, she said. It shows memories. Past or present. Ethan stepped closer. Memories? Serafina nodded. Watch. She flicked a drop of water into the air, and instantly an image formed above the pool. Ethan lying in the desert sand, unconscious, sky glowing behind him. Then Serafina appeared in the memory, kneeling beside him, brushing sand from his face. Her expression filled with concern. Ethan's heart raced as he watched himself reach weakly toward her. Serafina looked at him seriously. This moment, it changed something in me. Ethan swallowed. Why? She didn't look away. Because you trusted me before you even knew who I was. You reached for me with fear in your eyes. But you still reached. The image faded, replaced by ripples. When I touched your hand, Serafina said softly, I felt a connection I cannot explain. Something ancient. Something rare. What kind of connection? Ethan whispered. She stepped closer, stopping only a breath away. A claiming bond. His heart pounded. You said that last night. But what does it mean? Well, it means, she said, her voice soft as starlight, that once I choose to protect someone, I do not stop, I do not turn away, and I do not allow harm to come to them. There was a deep seriousness in her eyes now, something almost fierce. It means you are under my shield, she continued. You are someone I care for. Someone I will stand with. Ethan felt warmth spread through his chest. But why me? I don't know yet, she admitted gently. But I intend to find out. For the first time since waking, Ethan realized she wasn't simply being kind out of duty. She truly felt something toward him, a growing understanding. A bond she had spoken of. Before he could respond, a guard rushed into the garden and knelt. My queen, forgive the interruption. A delegation from the outer tribes has arrived. They request an urgent meeting. Serafina's calm expression shifted to one of irritation. Already? They were not expected for another 3 days. Forgive me, my queen, the guard said. They insist they must speak with you at once. Serafina looked at Ethan with a hint of apology. Duty calls, she murmured. Ethan nodded. It's all right. But Serafina placed a hand gently on his arm. Her touch was warm, steady, grounding. I will return soon, she promised. Stay in the garden. The guards will protect you. He nodded again, though he felt strangely disappointed to see her go. Serafina turned to her guards. Watch him closely. He is under my personal protection. No one is to come near him without my permission. The guards nodded fiercely. Then the queen walked away, her robe flowing behind her like a comet's tail, disappearing into the palace halls with her head held high. Ethan watched her until she vanished from sight, feeling a connection growing stronger inside him with each passing moment. He didn't know what the outer tribes wanted. He didn't know why fate had brought him here. But he did know one thing with certainty. The alien queen who found him, who saved him, had claimed him as someone important. And whatever happened next, it was only the beginning. Ethan stayed in the crystal garden, doing exactly what Serafina asked him to do: rest, breathe, and recover. But staying calm was harder than it sounded. He kept thinking about the way she looked at him, the softness in her eyes, the gentle tone in her voice when she said she had claimed him. He didn't understand alien customs, but he understood one thing clearly. She genuinely cared about him. He sat near the silver pool, watching the ripples dance across the surface. The garden was peaceful, filled with glowing vines and faint sweet scents. But the peace didn't last long. A sharp voice broke the silence. So this is the human the queen cares for. Ethan turned quickly. A tall Nitherian man stepped out from behind a glowing tree. His armor was darker than the guards, marked with swirling symbols. His eyes were sharp, cold, and filled with something that didn't feel friendly. Ethan stood slowly. Who are you? The man tilted his head, studying him with a strange expression. I am Lord Kael, commander of the outer tribes. His voice held power and confidence, like someone used to giving orders. Ethan had no idea how high-ranked this man was, but the way he carried himself made it clear he was important. Kael looked him up and down with a half-smile. So you are the fragile traveler the queen rescued? Ethan swallowed. Yes, I suppose so. Kael stepped closer, eyes narrowing. And she claimed you? Ethan hesitated. She said something like that, yes. Kael laughed softly, but there was no warmth in it. Of course she did. She always had a soft heart. Then, his smile vanished instantly. But claiming a human? That is unusual. Ethan felt the tension rise in his chest. Is it? Kael looked at him with a strange mix of amusement and disbelief. For her? No. For you? Maybe. He leaned in slightly. Humans are delicate, easily broken. You cannot survive the challenges that follow being under a queen's protection. Before Ethan could respond, the guards rushed forward with their weapons raised. Step away from him, Lord Kael. One guard demanded. Kael didn't even look at them. Relax. I'm only speaking to the queen's new guest. The guard kept his weapon steady. The queen ordered that no one approach him without permission. Kael finally turned his head, annoyance flashing in his eyes. I'm not no one. Even so, the guards refused to lower their weapons. Kael gave Ethan one last sharp look. We will speak again, human. Then he walked away with silent steps, disappearing into the glowing trees. Ethan sat back down, heart pounding. Something about Kael felt dangerous, not in a violent way, but in a political way. Someone who cared more about power Then peace. He wondered what kind of meeting Serafina was having with such people. Time passed slowly. He explored the garden a little, touched glowing flowers, watched light butterflies float past him, but even beauty couldn't erase his worry. Finally, after what felt like forever, soft footsteps echoed down the pathway. Serafina entered the garden again. But her face was different now, tired, serious. Her usual calm eyes shadowed with frustration. "Ethan," she said softly as she approached him. He stood up immediately. "Is everything all right?" She took a slow breath, trying to steady herself. "The outer tribes arrived earlier than expected. They bring news of unrest along the border. They demand we send forces." "Unrest?" Ethan asked. "Like, conflict?" "Not yet," she said. "But tension is rising. They fear an attack from neighboring kingdoms. They want me to prepare for war." Ethan felt a chill. "And do you think there will be war?" Serafina looked out over the garden, her expression unreadable. "I hope not. War is easy to start but difficult to end. Too many suffer." She sat on a stone bench, and Ethan sat beside her. "You look exhausted," he said quietly. She smiled faintly. "Queens do not get rest when the world grows restless." Her eyes softened a little as she looked at him. "But seeing you helps. You remind me that not every stranger is a threat." Ethan felt warmth spread through him again. "I'm glad I can help, even if I don't really know how." "You help simply by being here," she whispered. For a moment, they sat in peaceful silence. Then Ethan decided to ask something that had been eating at him ever since Kale's visit. "Serafina, is it bad that you claimed me? Does it cause problems for you?" Serafina turned toward him slowly, her eyes gentle but serious. "Who told you that?" "A tall Nitherian guy in armor. Kale, I think." Her jaw tightened almost instantly. "Kale spoke to you? Alone?" Ethan nodded cautiously. Serafina looked away, a hint of anger flickering in her eyes. "He should not have approached you. He enjoys pushing boundaries." Ethan nodded. "He said humans can't survive the challenges that come with being claimed by a queen." Serafina sighed. "Kyle speaks from pride, not wisdom." "Is he wrong?" Ethan asked softly. She looked at him with a gentleness that surprised him. "You are strong enough for what lies ahead." He didn't entirely believe that, but her confidence made him feel braver. She added quietly, "The claiming bond is not a burden. It is trust. Connection. Protection. It means I accept responsibility for your life until you are strong enough to stand on your own." He nodded slowly. "And what does it mean for you?" Serafina hesitated for the first time. "For me, it means I cannot ignore you. Your safety affects my heart." She paused. "Your pain affects my thoughts." Ethan blinked. "That sounds serious." "It is," she admitted softly. "Nitherian bonds are powerful." Ethan looked down. "I don't want to cause trouble for you." "You aren't trouble," Serafina said firmly. "You were placed in my path for a reason." Her tone held such certainty that Ethan didn't know how to argue. Suddenly, a soft sound echoed a distant horn. Serafina stood instantly, her expression snapping into alertness. "That signal. Something is happening." A guard ran into the garden, breathless. "My queen. The outer tribes request your immediate presence again. They say the situation is urgent." Serafina tensed. "Did they say why?" "No, my queen. They refuse to explain until you come." She shook her head, clearly frustrated. "They test my patience." Before she followed the guard, she turned to Ethan and stepped closer. "Ethan, whatever happens next, stay close to the guards. Do not wander." "I won't," he promised. She hesitated, then gently placed her hand on his cheek, a touch so soft he barely felt it. "I will return. I must." Then she turned and walked away quickly, her robes trailing behind her. Ethan sat back down, unsure of what to do. The guards stayed close, watching every corner of the garden like they expected danger to appear any moment. He waited. Minutes passed. Then an hour. Finally, distant shouting echoed through the palace halls. The guards stiffened. Ethan stood up. "What's happening?" "We're not sure," one guard said. "But something is wrong." Before Ethan could react, a Nitherian servant ran into the garden, wide-eyed and breathless. "Where is the human?" she cried. Ethan stepped forward. "I'm here." The servant ran directly to him. "The queen sent me to fetch you. She needs you now." Ethan's heart jumped. "Me? Why?" "There is no time come." The guards surrounded him instantly and moved swiftly through the palace. The air was sharp with tension. Ethan heard distant voices, footsteps, and angry murmurs. When they reached the grand hall, the doors slid open, and Ethan froze. The hall was filled with armored members of the outer tribes. Their faces were stern, their weapons glowing faintly, and their voices rose in heated argument. Seraphina stood in front of them, calm but solid as stone, defending her ground with the authority of a powerful leader. Kale stood at the front, eyes blazing. "You protect the human at the cost of our people? This is unacceptable, Seraphina." The room fell silent when Kale pointed at Ethan. "There he is, the outsider. The reason your mind is divided." Seraphina's eyes snapped toward Ethan, shock and worry flashing in her face. "Bring him here," she commanded. The guards guided Ethan toward her. Her voice lowered when he reached her side. "Ethan, I need you to stay calm. Do not say anything unless I ask you." He nodded quickly, even though his pulse hammered. Kale stepped forward. "We demand proof that this human is not a threat, or we demand you release him from your protection." Seraphina's expression hardened. "I will not release him." Kale's eyes narrowed. "Then show us why you protect him. Show us what you see in him." Seraphina stepped in front of Ethan, her posture tall and fierce. "What I see is none of your concern." The room erupted with murmurs. Kale glared. "You risk war for him," Seraphina answered with steel in her voice. "If there is war, it will not be because of him. It will be because of your pride." Ethan watched her, stunned. She wasn't defending him as an obligation. She was defending him because she truly meant every word. Kale's jaw tightened. "Very well. If you insist he is worth your protection, then prove it. Let the human speak for himself." Seraphina's expression changed. She didn't like that idea. But Kale continued. "If he is truly worthy of being claimed by a queen, then let him stand and speak before the tribes." Seraphina turned toward Ethan, her eyes filled with worry and something deeper fear for him. "You do not have to do this," she whispered. Ethan swallowed. "Maybe I should. If it will help you." Seraphina looked torn, her calm mask slipping for a moment. "They will judge every word you say." "I know," Ethan said quietly. "But you saved me. And you've been protecting me ever since. Let me stand with you now." Her eyes softened, pride replacing fear. "Very well," she whispered. "I will stand beside you." Ethan stepped forward to face Kale and the tribes. Seraphina moved to his side, ready to defend him against the entire hall if she had to. Whatever happened next would change everything: his place in the palace, the queen's command, and the strange bond growing between them. The moment had come. Every eye in the grand hall was fixed on Ethan. Rows of Nitherian warriors stood like stone statues, their blue armor glowing faintly under the crystal lights of the palace. At the front, the leaders of the outer tribes waited with sharp, expecting eyes, and Kale stood among them with a confident expression, certain the situation would turn in his favor. But Ethan was not alone. Seraphina stood beside him, her presence steady like a mountain, her robe shimmering with soft silver light. Her quiet strength wrapped around Ethan like a protective shield. Even though he was nervous, her presence made him feel like he could stand without shaking. Kale stepped forward and raised his voice so the entire hall could hear. "Human, you have been brought here because your presence has caused conflict. The queen protects you, but we want to understand why. Speak. Tell us why you deserve her shield." Ethan swallowed hard. His throat felt dry, and his heart beat loudly in his ears. He wasn't trained for speeches. He wasn't a leader or a warrior. He was just someone who had stumbled into this world by accident. Serafina noticed his fear and leaned closer, her voice barely above a whisper. Do not fear them. Speak as you are. Honesty is stronger than power. Her words steadied him. He took a small step forward and faced the hall. I don't know what you expect, Ethan began, his voice a little shaky but growing firmer. I didn't come here looking for protection. I didn't come here to cause problems. I crash-landed on your world. I was injured, alone, and scared. If the Queen hadn't found me, I would have died in the desert. The crowd murmured, some surprised, others unconvinced. Ethan continued. She saved me when she didn't have to. She helped me without knowing anything about me. She gave me food, shelter, and kindness. And she protected me even when it caused trouble for her. Ethan paused and took a deep breath. I can't offer you grand promises. I can't pretend I know your politics or your traditions. But I can tell you this. I never wanted to be a burden. I never asked to be claimed. But she chose to save me. And because she did, I want to support her in any way I can. I want to stand beside her, not hide behind her. A slow silence washed through the hall. Some of the tribe warriors exchanged looks, not hostile, just surprised. Kale raised an eyebrow. You speak well for someone frightened. Ethan shook his head. I'm not pretending I'm brave. I am scared. Anyone would be. But Serafina never left me alone when I was helpless, so I won't leave her alone now. That statement hit the crowd strongly. The murmurs grew louder, but the tone shifted. It wasn't anger. It was curiosity, maybe even respect. Serafina stepped forward now, her voice calm but sharp with authority. You asked for a reason why I protect him. You asked what I see in him. She placed her hand on Ethan's shoulder, firm and proud. Now you have your answer. Kale folded his arms. Words are easy. But what about the danger? What about the threat from the neighboring kingdoms? Serafina's eyes narrowed slightly. Do not twist this matter. The unrest beyond the border has nothing to do with Ethan. You simply used it as an excuse to challenge me. Gasps filled the hall. Kale did not deny it. Instead, he said, Your bond with him is clouding your judgment. Serafina stepped forward, her voice rising like a blade. My judgment is clearer than ever. I know exactly what I am doing. The hall fell silent. Kale's lips tightened. Very well, Serafina. Then let the decision be made in front of everyone. What decision? She asked cautiously. We demand that the Queen demonstrate her control. Demonstrate that her bond with the human does not weaken her rule. If she can prove her strength, we will withdraw our objections. If not, Kale looked around dramatically. Then she must release him. Ethan felt his stomach twist. Release him? Serafina stepped closer to Ethan protectively. And how do you propose I prove my strength? Kale smiled thinly. The trial of resolve. The hall erupted in whispers. Ethan looked quickly at Serafina. What's the trial of resolve? She did not answer at first. Her jaw tightened. Kale answered instead. A test that proves a leader's focus cannot be shaken. If her mind is divided because of you, she will fail. Serafina shot Kale a glare that could cut stone. Ethan whispered, You don't have to do this. But Serafina looked at him with calm determination. Yes, I do. Kale raised his hand. Bring the projection stone. A group of warriors brought forward a glowing crystal orb. They placed it at the center of the hall. The orb hummed softly, releasing faint light. Serafina stepped forward, her robe brushing the polished floor. The trial of resolve, she said, voice steady as steel, tests a queen's ability to remain in control even under emotional pressure. Kale nodded eagerly. Exactly. And we will create the pressure. Ethan's fists clenched. This is unfair. Serafina's eyes softened for a moment. Do not worry. I will not fail. She placed her hand on the projection stone. The orb lit up instantly, sending a beam of white light through the hall. The air hummed with energy. Shapes began forming in the air, images, illusions, memories. Kale raised his voice. If the Queen's emotions falter, The projection will collapse. If she succeeds, the orb will glow solid white. Ethan stepped forward. I don't want you to do this because of me. Serafina's voice was quiet but certain. I am not doing this because of you. I am doing this for you. Before Ethan could say more, she faced the orb. The trial began. The first illusion appeared a storm over Nytheria, lightning cracking the sky. The wind roared through the hall, though it wasn't real. The floor shook with thunder. Serafina's hair blew wildly in the illusionary wind, but she stood perfectly still. Kale watched her closely. Next, warriors appeared in the illusion, their shapes distorted by glowing shadows. They charged at Serafina, their weapons raised. The illusion was so real, Ethan took a step back in fear, but Serafina didn't move. Her focus never wavered. Another illusion replaced it, a memory of her coronation. She stood alone in a giant hall as thousands bowed before her. But the image twisted, showing doubt on their faces, fear in their eyes. Her breath hitched, but only slightly. KL smirked. Doubt. Interesting. The orb flickered. Ethan's heart jumped. Serafina. She did not turn. She steadied her breath and raised her chin. The orb steadied again. Then the final illusion formed. Ethan froze when he saw it. It was him. He appeared in the illusion laying in the desert again, unconscious, cold, dying. The exact moment she found him. The illusion made him look weaker than before, his body still and pale. Serafina's expression changed instantly. Ethan stepped forward. Stop the trial. This is too much. Kale raised a hand. Do not interfere, Serafina whispered. It's all right. But Ethan could see the pain in her eyes. The memory wasn't just an image, it was a wound. Seeing him like that again pulled at her heart. The orb flickered dangerously. Kale leaned forward, ready to declare her failure. Serafina closed her eyes. The whole hall held its breath. She whispered softly to herself, or to Ethan. He didn't know. I saved him once. I will save him forever. Her eyes opened steady, bright, filled with unbreakable resolve. The orb blazed white. The illusions shattered like glass breaking. The hall fell silent. The light continued to glow, strong and solid proof of her passing the trial with perfect control. Kale stepped back in shock. The tribes murmured with respect. The oldest tribal leader raised his staff. The queen has proven her strength. The human stays under her protection. Serafina turned toward Ethan with a gentle smile, her breath steady again. Ethan didn't think he stepped forward and embraced her tightly. She froze for a moment, surprised. Then her hands rose slowly and rested lightly on his back. Whispers filled the hall, but she didn't care. She murmured quietly, You stood with me. Now I stand with you. Ethan whispered back. I'm not afraid anymore. Not when I'm with you. Serafina stepped back and looked at the tribes. This matter is finished, she said firmly. We stand united. And the human remains under my protection not as a burden, but as someone I choose. Kale said nothing, not because he agreed, but because he had nothing left to challenge. Serafina turned back to Ethan, her voice softer. Come. There is much we must discuss. Your place in this world, and at my side. For the first time since crashing on this world, Ethan felt he truly belonged. Not because he was claimed, but because he was chosen. And together, their story was only beginning.